Mark Thames, welcome to One Technology's Pirate Radio.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So, Mark, you give me a little bit of your background. You've held various senior IT positions, including CTO, security and network leads, etc. You've also spent time in the Air Force, where you helped build out some of the original internet platform for the Air Force. During that time, you had the experience of manually catching hackers. Tell me about that.
Oh, that was fun. That was on a Sun Spark station. It was the first IDS system out there. It was called the ASIM. It was out of the AFWC, the Air Force Information and Warfare Center, and we would use this and go manually 24 hours later through the logs and grep, through Unix, and then we would find, abnormalities and people trying to hack in, and then we'd have to manually go, and I'd have to call, the network folks, and they'd have to go put in access control lists manually to block certain IP addresses. I mean, it was a full manual thing, but what's interesting about the ASIM is that's what actually became the first commercial IDS system, by the Wheel Group, which got bought by Cisco. So that was actually the first, version of the Cisco IDS that people know today. So it's pretty fun. But that was about 20 plus years ago.
And you were catching folks anywhere between Matthew Broderick characters, Ferris Bueller hitting Mr. Rooney's computer, and then his War Games character. But it was sort of everything in between those, right?
Yeah, everything in between, and it was more of, when you see it come down, I would work with the AFCERT, the Air Force Computer Emergency Response Team, and then we would validate it and then go figure out what to do to lock things down. But it was pretty interesting. It was very interesting.
Nice. That definitely is. We've come a long way, from manually catching hackers to, the automation that we all work with on a day-to-day basis. And the future, which is very AI driven, which is what we're going to be talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start off with a level set. What are the different types of AI out there today?
There's a couple types, but we really like to classify them into two settings, which is weak AI and strong AI. And really the difference between strong and weak strong AI has the ability to learn. You can teach it. It's like a child learning a language, right? Whereas weak AI is more of it's to respond to something. So it's already pre-programmed. It's already told how to answer something. So if you ask a question or you need information on something, you're looking something up, it'll automatically just give what it's told to give you. Whereas strong AI can actually learn, right? So it's very, very interesting. And I found this one fascinating thing, called Sophia. Sophia is the first, AI robot. It's actually the first citizen robot. I believe Sophia is a citizen of Saudi Arabia. But it was hard to tell if Sophia was strong AI or weak AI because when she would be interviewed, they would ask questions, and a lot of them she didn't know. She says, I don't know about that right now. I have to learn that. But was it really her being programmed to answer things based on what she was asked versus really being able to have an intelligent conversation? So it's just there's differences. But again, the learning is the key part to be able to learn as you do AI.
Yep. And the future of enterprise AI is in the latter, right?
Definitely. It's definitely more around the strong AI because you're taking in large amounts of data. And really what it is, it's really taking a huge amount of data, which obviously, data grows daily, like leaps and bounds. But being able to analyze that data and be able to automate things with that data and be able to do predictive analysis and all kinds of things that you can solve, at a very rapid pace that if you try to do manually as a human to process that would be next to impossible with the amount of data that's out there.
And the overall goal is to improve within the enterprise efficiencies and user experience. Talk about that a little bit.
There's a lot of things enterprises are doing, from everything from logistics to distribution to, creating more efficiencies in finance, obviously technology, IT. There's a lot of things you can do. So using automation to do things that you can replace, repetitive tasks and things that are very difficult to do, like troubleshooting. And there's all kinds of things. Some examples like there's this coffee company that uses these scales inside of their espresso machines where the beans are, so they know how much beans are being used every day, and they can take that data to know how much beans to ship there, or how much, they need to send that year, or be predictive analytics on how much they need to prepare for based on how much beans is being used in that store, So that's some things, with your expense reports, they can use AI now and technology to audit these things, to catch things, to be able to make you more efficient with expenses. There's all kinds of things you can use with AI, from manufacturing to, assistance, and lots of different things you can do with it.
It's exciting to think that it could solve some of the supply chain issues we've experienced in the last 18 to 24 months or 18
Yeah.
months. The idea that it could better predict, toilet paper, Ford
Yeah.
F-150s, chips, etc. Is exciting for sure.
Yeah, well, Alexa can predict your toilet paper from Amazon and order you more, right?
Yes,
That's a form of AI.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it is interesting, and how it's already being used today in our lives. When you take a look around, you see a lot of it starting to creep more and more into our day to day.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's today. What role do you think AI will play in enterprise technology over the next several years, decades, and how will Juniper Solutions address the market?
Yeah, I can tell you that there's a lot of things happening in different industries. If you look at the auto industry, you look at like truckers, for example, there's still an enterprise. They're looking at not even having drivers, right?
Yeah.
They'll be fully
Yep.
the new Tesla semi truck is a fully autonomous vehicle. That's a form of AI, right? That impacts things. You look at with IT departments and technology. The biggest thing for me was, how do I be more efficient with the resources that I have, and how do I improve their lives? So I remember when I had network teams, they normally had to work on nights and weekends. And what was the most stressful thing on their job? It was troubleshooting. They're under the gun.
Yep.
It's stressful. I mean, it's one of the most stressful things you can do. And also, you have to do maintenance upgrades and things. What do you got to do? You got to wait till you get a change control. You got to wait till you can get a window at night to go in there, or on a weekend, because you can't take the business down during the day. What if you could eliminate all that? What if you could make it to where you use technology to troubleshoot? The better than if you looked at, like Jeopardy. Though, we have our Marvis, which is our virtual network assistant. If you look at Jeopardy, that's how it was created. IBM's Watson beat the best Jeopardy champs in the world. So you have some of the best troubleshooters in the world. Are they better than technology to troubleshoot? So there's things you can do, and it's like that strong AI where it learns like a child learning a language. So how do you use that technology to dramatically increase your uptime, which improves your customers, your users' experience, because it's available and they're not spending their time on the help desk, not connecting, right? And
Yep.
then being more efficient to where you can be more efficient with the resources you do have, to where they can be a more productive and a more strategic role versus a firefighting role.
Well, and Watson beat Ken Jenkins or whoever the Jeopardy
Yeah,
champion was, but it still hasn't beaten me in Trivial Pursuit.
it
So
hasn't. It
it
hasn't. Yeah,
hasn't. I mean, that's a high bar. I'll
yeah,
be
we had
really
a customer
impressed when
that
it can beat me in ping pong.
Yeah. We had a customer who was troubleshooting a problem, one of the largest networks in the world, if not the largest network in the world. So they had the best network engineers in the world. They were troubleshooting a problem for 3.5 years and couldn't find it, and finally threw their hands up in the air. And then as soon as they plugged in the wired assurance with Juniper, they found the problem in less than 5 minutes
That's
and
fantastic.
identified it across their entire network where every single problem was. It was misconfigured VLANs. That's all it
Yep.
was.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a happy ending thanks to
Yeah.
AI.
Exactly.
So, on that note, you talk about what artificial intelligence can do to simplify the IT professionals' day or night job. Um, should IT professionals be concerned about what AI is going to do to the workforce? Eliminating the need for IT expertise.
It definitely does not eliminate the need for IT expertise. And what it does is it makes them more efficient. So I'll give you an example. Prior to having, even Juniper in my network, when I ran a network for a large company, it took me 7 full-time engineers 3 weeks to do one change on my network, just to upgrade, just to change something, right?
Yep.
And then moving to Juniper before AI, it took 1 week, one engineer. Now it's autonomous. But did I get rid of all those engineers? Absolutely not. What I did is I was be able to put them in more strategic roles versus firefighting roles. I was able to cross train them so they got to learn new skills. So I used to have a security team, a network team, a video team, a voice team. They all became a converged engineer and got to learn all those traits. They became more valuable in the marketplace. And instead of spending all their time under the gun with outages, stressful troubleshooting, now they can be more strategic. Look for how to improve the business outcomes, how to be more valuable to the company than just, oh, there's that network, it's down again. Who's troubleshooting it now? What are they doing? Versus, wow, you guys are on top of it. We have this new application we need to launch out there. We have this new product we need to launch, and you guys were already on top of it and already had a solution for us because you have time to do that. Versus
Yep.
before, it was like, oh no, I don't have time to do that. I'm too busy. I'm working my people into the ground. They're having to work every night. They haven't had a weekend off in this month because they're working on changing the network. What if you could get rid of all that?
Yep.
Then you could be a lot more strategic. And in my group, the end game was I did still add people to the group. I didn't have to let anyone go. But when we grew as a company, dramatically grew, I had to request the least amount of headcount from management to grow with the company. So I
Yep.
looked more effective, right? And that's what they're being asked to do now.
And the average the IT professional on your team has better job satisfaction, which frankly leads to better life satisfaction. So
Absolutely.
a happier coworker is a good thing.
Yeah, morale went up dramatically.
Yeah.
And burnout. We had the least amount of people, leave the company or quit out of any other part of the company and in the IT department because they weren't getting burned out. Before that, it was tough because they were so stressed out trying to troubleshoot, trying to do all this stuff manually. It was overwhelming for some. Some couldn't handle it. But after this, and with the way we have the products now, it's very simple to be a lot more effective. It just improves that quality of life to where they can be creative and solve business problems versus troubleshooting and firefighting
Yep.
and
Yep. For sure.
upgrading things.
Which is constant, right? I mean, there's always something out of support or needs a new version or needs patched or and needs somebody at 2 in the
Security,
morning outside of a window, right? Or
yeah, security vulnerabilities. Ooh, you quick, you got to go patch all the stuff. Remember what I said? Seven, oh, what if I have to go upgrade something? Oh, well, there you go. We've had customers that they weren't even able to upgrade or patch major security vulnerabilities because they didn't know where all the equipment was and it wasn't, and they'd have to replace some of it because it was too old where the firmware couldn't handle it. And when they asked us how we did it with ours, we're like, yeah, we had that thing, I think 12, 13 hours, every customer in the world. Everything was already fixed and they didn't have to do anything. And that's what helped us, win that opportunity.
yeah.
Right.
But
And it's just crazy.
well, that there's definitely a lot of upside to artificial intelligence, in our personal lives and in the enterprise, in our enterprise environments. But some prominent technologists have warned that artificial intelligence could eventually be dangerous to people and to humanity as a whole, i.e., the you referenced to Tesla earlier. Should we be nervous about AI?
We should be very cautious about AI. And, we can't, there were some things that scared some people. And, Elon Musk was one. Mark Zuckerberg. I believe Facebook did this test where they put two AI, machines or something together in a room, and it started creating its own language. We've all seen the Terminator. We've all seen iRobot. We've all seen these things that can go bad. The Matrix, right? So it's about being cautious about how it's being developed. But if you look at most AI today on how it's being developed more in a way to do automation and to do, find complex, needle in a haystack troubleshooting or make companies more efficient. It's really not designed, when you really start getting worried about it is when it gets out of control and you don't put in safeguards in order to have things like not happen. I don't know if you've seen that where they had those two Google Homes going back and forth with each other and they were arguing with each other on if they were human or not, and they didn't even both know that they were just Google Home devices,
Oh,
and
geez.
it's scary, but you just really have to be able to put in those safeguards as it's created and do it in a responsible way, just like you would with anything. And everything else will adapt. And if you look at how technology adapts, I mean, just looking at an automobile with safety. What was an automobile back in the 50s? They didn't have seat belts. They didn't have shatterproof glass. They didn't have airbags. Things get safer as they go, I believe, not more dangerous. So I
Yep.
believe AI will be the same way. And I'm glad they identified those things early on before it really became, that widespread and widely used in all of our lives. And, you got to be careful. Like I mentioned, the automobile. I believe years from now, you're not going to need a driver's license. You're not going to have a steering wheel. You're not going to, you're going to be fully autonomous,
Yep.
right? That's what cars are going to be like. So what if somebody hacks into that? You know, what can they do with that? So there's things that companies are taking precautions. You know, I mean, some of the big car companies are hiring some of the most phenomenal security minds out there, you know, to take care of the stuff. So I believe it's being done in a correct way to make that not be as fearful as the movies and, you know, the Terminators make us think it's going to be.
Yeah, I hope we land somewhere closer to Google Pods arguing with each other and not with the robot wars from the Terminator
Yes.
series. I think I hope and think you're probably right. So, um, well, Mark, we appreciate your time. Thank you for taking a little bit here to talk through AI with us, what's happening in the enterprise space with AI, and how our lives will be changing.
Yeah, great. It's been great to be here. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Mark. Take care.